She doesn't love you. She loves what loving you does to her. The attention, the validation, the performance. She weeps. Not because she's hurt, but because it makes you stay. She flirts. Not because she desires, but because your desire feeds her power. Here's the truth no man dares say aloud. The average woman is not searching for love, she's searching for leverage. She wants to be wanted, not to surrender, but to dominate without seeming cruel. She weaponizes softness, cries on cue, destroys reputations with a whisper, and still plays the victim. You call it femininity, but behind the mask, calculation. Because in a culture that stripped men of their strength, women evolved to conquer through ambiguity. They don't have to kill you, just make you doubt yourself until you pull the trigger. Otto Weininger called it the ethical nothingness of woman, a mirror that reflects only what's around her, never her own soul. Nietzsche warned, when you go to a woman, don't forget the whip. But the modern woman doesn't need a whip. She has TikTok, Instagram, tears, and silence. You want her to love you, but she just wants to see if you'll bleed when she walks away. You think this is hate? No, this is clarity. This isn't about hating women. It's about finally looking at them without illusion. Because if you strip away the makeup, the rehearsed fragility, the curated pain, you don't find innocence. You find strategy. Modern men are collapsing because they're still playing a game that no longer exists. They bring flowers to a chess match, offer love to someone who sees that love as weakness. And then they wonder why she ghosts, cheats, forgets. She doesn't feel guilt. She feels justified. Why? Because society has rewritten her story. She's never the villain. She's the survivor. Every betrayal she commits is reframed as self-care. Every cruelty becomes healing. Every manipulation becomes boundaries. And if you question it, you're labeled the abuser. But here's what they never tell you. A woman raised in a world that rewards victimhood will weaponize it. And a man raised to serve will become her first casualty. Nietzsche once said, "Man is the cruelest animal." But he underestimated what cruelty looks like when it's dressed in vulnerability. Weininger saw it more clearly. He called woman an absence of moral will, a being of masks, driven not by truth but by effect. So if this topic makes you uncomfortable, good. It should. Because once you understand what she is, not what she pretends to be, you'll never look at love the same way again. Not every woman is evil, but every woman can be, if you give her enough power and no accountability. Ready to see how deep this goes? Just don't expect to come back clean. His name was Ryan. Not rich, not powerful, but kind. The kind of man who held doors open and answered 3 a.m. texts like a loyal dog waiting for affection. He met her on a dating app. Her name? Julia. Soft voice, sharp eyes, 1,000 followers. Trauma stories perfectly packaged in captions. She told him she had been through a lot. He listened, nurtured, paid for therapy, held her when she had panic attacks triggered by silence. What he didn't realize, her wounds weren't just unhealed, they were weapons, and she had learned exactly how to aim them. The moment he fell in love, the shift began. Sudden coldness, delayed replies, cryptic posts. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just meant to be alone. He begged. She pulled away. She started posting thirst traps, captioned with poetry about reclaiming herself. Ryan, meanwhile, stopped sleeping, lost weight. His job slipped. He drank. He sent long paragraphs at 2 a.m. she never opened. Her reply? A TikTok with the line, "Healing is choosing yourself even if it breaks their heart." 3 months later, Ryan was found in his apartment, rope around his neck. No note. Just a phone still logged into her profile. Her stories were still playing when they found his body. She cried at the funeral, said he was so sensitive. You want the analysis? Here it is. She didn't kill him. Not with a knife. Not directly. But she fed on his devotion like it was a drug. And when the high wore off, she discarded him, like broken packaging. Because in a culture where women are never held morally responsible for the pain they cause, they become artists of plausible deniability. He was obsessed. He had issues. He was unstable. No one asks if she led him there. Because female cruelty wears perfume. It cries on command. It says, "I didn't ask for this." But what she didn't say matters more. She didn't tell him to stop. She didn't tell him she'd never love him. She didn't say, "You're destroying yourself for a ghost I stopped being months ago." Because watching him spiral gave her meaning. It proved she was desired, important, powerful. And Weininger was right. "Woman," he wrote, "is not evil by intent, but by emptiness. She reflects the will of the stronger. But when she senses a man weaker than herself, she drains him. Not because she hates him, but because he bores her." This is the secret society won't admit. Women aren't turned off by weakness because it's unmanly. They're turned off by it because it reminds them of themselves. And nothing disgusts the feminine psyche more than seeing its own fragility mirrored in a man who loves too much. So she kills him. Slowly. With silence. With ambiguity. With the performance of self-love that feeds off the carcass of his obsession. And she walks away untouched. Because she didn't owe him anything. But she knew. Oh, she knew. 2 weeks after Ryan's suicide, Julia posted a photo of herself smiling at the beach. Caption, "I'm finally learning to let go of toxic energy." A few hearts. A few "you go girl" comments. No mention of Ryan. Not even a black square. Not a single line that whispered, "Maybe I went too far." Because she didn't go too far. Not by today's standards. In fact, she did everything right. She prioritized her mental health. She refused to shrink herself for a man. She set boundaries. And if he died clinging to her ghost, that's his fault. This is what you don't understand. In the economy of female power, suffering is currency. And in a post-moral world, guilt is obsolete. She didn't feel responsible because she was rewarded for the damage. You think she lost something that day? She gained followers, sympathy, even a few DMs from men who said, "I hope you're okay." New candidates, new attention. She didn't bury Ryan. She absorbed him into her mythology. This is the climax no one wants to face. The modern woman is not punished for emotional violence. She is celebrated for surviving it. The same culture that tells her you're never responsible for a man's emotions gives her infinite tools to provoke, confuse, manipulate, and discard those emotions like used tissues. Let's call it what it is. Weaponized helplessness. She pretends to be overwhelmed. But it's a script, a flawless, airtight defense. No one can accuse the crying girl. No one can blame the empath. No one dares question a woman's version of events. Because in this religion, doubt is blasphemy. So she can destroy a man's self-worth, fracture his identity, incite obsession, and walk away. Cloaked in therapeutic language and Instagram poetry. Nietzsche warned us, in a decadent age, morality isn't destroyed, it's inverted. Cruelty hides in compassion. Dominance wears the mask of victimhood. And Weininger, who dared say it over a century ago, saw it before it became digitalized. Woman has no individuality. She is a reflection, a mirror of man's desire. But when that mirror shatters, man bleeds alone. Let's go further. Let's imagine Julia had felt guilty. What would she have done? Sent him a text? "I'm so sorry you felt that way"? Posted a quote about depression? Attended a women's circle to process her guilt? Even her remorse would have been a performance. Because the truth is darker. She doesn't regret what happened. She regrets that he died before she could ghost him cleanly. See, when a man becomes inconvenient, the culture offers her two exits. Claim trauma. Say nothing. And both are rewarded. No judge. No jury. No consequence. Because we've built a system where female pain is sacred and male suffering is pathetic. A crying woman is brave. A crying man is broken. A suicidal woman is a tragedy. A suicidal man is a liability. So, Ask yourself, how many Julias are out there, dragging men into emotional quicksand, watching them choke on silence, then posting soft-lit selfies with the caption, "This year is about me? You want the climax? Here it is." She didn't kill him with cruelty. She killed him with confusion. Because nothing drives a man insane faster than mixed signals wrapped in innocence. Nothing hollows him out like being discarded without explanation. Nothing breaks him more than realizing the person he loved was playing a role the entire time. And she knew that. She counted on it. Because when female power is no longer checked by shame, it doesn't heal. It feeds. And when it feeds, it learns. I can make someone love me to death and still be the victim in the end. Let's cut the sympathy. Ryan didn't die because she was cruel. He died because he wanted her cruelty to mean something. He needed it to hurt. Because if it hurt, it proved she mattered. And if she mattered, then he mattered. That's the paradox no one dares voice. Men don't just fear being unloved. They fear being irrelevant. When Julia grew cold, when she withdrew, when she stopped replying, his instinct wasn't to walk away. It was to fight harder. Why? Because her silence activated his need to be chosen. A need rooted not in logic, but in myth. The ancient idea that a man earns worth by suffering for the feminine. Even if the feminine is hollow, even if it's wearing a mask. Carl Jung saw this clearly. Woman, in the male psyche, isn't just a partner. She's a symbol, an inner goddess, a mirror of his own anima. When that mirror turns its back, he collapses. But Nietzsche gives us the sharper blade. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. What happens when the why leaves? When she stops looking at him, he stops existing. Ryan didn't hang himself because of heartbreak. He did it because the pain became the only proof he ever felt something real. She didn't just ghost him. She erased the meaning he built around her. And he couldn't survive that emptiness. This is the brutal truth. He didn't want her love. He wanted her to make him feel worthy of suffering. Because when a man lacks purpose, when society strips him of masculine pride, when he's told to be softer, be safer, be less, the only thing left to fight for is the attention of someone who doesn't want him. We call this love, but it's not. It's existential starvation. And she became the final bite. You want to blame her. You want to hate her. But maybe the darker truth is this. There's no villain here, only instinct unchecked. She did what the world taught her. Use emotion like currency. Extract meaning from male devotion. Exit without consequence. And he did what the world programmed him to do. Worship a woman until she turned into a god. Then sacrifice himself at her altar. In the end, neither was conscious. They were reflections of a deeper sickness, a culture that calls male strength toxic and female manipulation sacred. Ryan died for a lie. But Julia lives inside one. Because even now, she'll tell herself she did the best she could. She'll tell her next boyfriend, "My ex had mental health issues." She'll cry when convenient and smile when it works. And you'll think you're immune until it's your turn to beg someone who's already gone. You can curse me, but you can't escape this truth.